Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Logan. How are you doing, Logan?
Like I said, I'm living the dream, Jordan. Things are looking up, so I'm really excited about the future. But that's enough talk for me. Jordan, how you doing? I know we were catching up just a little bit before the show, but how was the skills competition? How did that all
Yeah,
fare? Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. We got down there. So the way it worked is all the seats were $15, I think. It was general admission. So when you walked in, we got there maybe like 30 minutes ahead of time. With traffic and where we parked and having to walk from parking there and everything. Um, but what they did is they just started seating in one section and then they would just go around the thing. So we kind of ended up kind of near the corner flag behind the goal that everything was happening on. So it was a pretty good spot to see and everything. So that was a lot of fun. It was short. I was always wondering like how long is this going to be? It started at 7:30. The real skills competition really only started at 8. 7:30 they like introduced everybody. They started goalie wars, which is where they do these MLS Next Pro um two goalies going up against each other and they see how many goals they can score and it's like a I don't know what you would call it, like almost like a half court. Like if you're watching like a half court basketball game, but it's full court, right? But it's small, is what I mean, like small. And the guy who won was from, I believe, Austin, and he was just abusing the throw. Like goalkeepers could use their arms, like throw it like they do in the game, or they could drop kick it or just place it and kick it. It's like 3 minutes or something to see how many goals you get in that time or whatever. And the way to win was throwing it. I mean, seriously, that just he had such good control on it, and he was had such velocity on it, and it was surprising. I thought throwing wouldn't work that much, but he also had so much more control by throwing it as well, because I think you can place it better, than using your feet. So that was cool to see. But that started at like 7:30. They did like 3 or 4 of those games, and so they did like the first one at 7:30, and then they kind of introduced everybody. Skills comp started at 8. We got to the point where it was like 9:08, 9:18, something like that. Yeah, I think it was 9:08, and they still had 2 competitions left: the passing challenge and the crossbar challenge. And I was like, "Oh, maybe we're not getting done till 10." It actually finished 20 minutes later. Those are 2 kind of shorter comps, I guess. And I always wonder what happens if the crossbar challenge just keeps going, right? Like if nobody ever hits the game-winning one, like do they just keep going, or they have something in the back of their pocket? If this is like an hour later, they're like nobody's hitting this thing, everybody's exhausted. Flip a coin or something. Like I really wonder what their idea is, but it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we did not win, and neither we didn't win the we didn't win the all-star game either. So we were both wrong. We had them winning at least one of those things, but it did not happen, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I had a good time there. It was awesome. I recommend it if it's gonna be continue to be a thing. If people want to go just see the skills competition, it's a totally different thing than just going to see a game. Like it takes about the same amount of time, and it's just cool seeing like different skills and you know um, not being on like the edge of your seat on a game. Just being like, oh, this is just fun, relaxed atmosphere. One thing that kind of got me though, Logan, I want to know your habits when you go to a game. Okay, because like I said, at 9:08 or whatever, I know there's only 2 competitions left. That the But people were still going down and get concessions, like, and coming back up with their concessions at this crossbar challenge right when they win it. And I'm like, what? You guys couldn't wait another couple minutes? Like, I didn't understand like how people are going about it, because the way I approach this, and I try to approach it whenever I go to any game, It's pretty much get there early, get food, and then, especially soccer games, I don't move until halftime. I go to the bathroom, come back, don't move until end, full time. In this, there are little breaks that you can kind of take between the competitions. They don't like immediately start it. But the way I approach it, I came in there, uh, we got seated because we were worried about, you know, it's all general seating. So you just run up and get your spots pretty much. And then you have like, I had my parents there and my wife there. So they were able to hold spots if we went to the bathroom or whatever. And like after sitting there for a couple minutes right before they start introducing everybody, right after the first goalie wars or whatever, I was like, all right, now is when I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to grab 2 pretzels, and I booked it back to my seat, and I got back up there while they're introducing everybody, and then I didn't move until the end of the skills challenge, and then I went to the bathroom. But I mean, what's your kind of strategy when you go to events like this?
No, that's a good question. I think everybody's a little different, and I always wonder this too. I always like, I wonder what, and I sit there thinking, I'm like, I wonder what Jordan like what does he do before a game? Like, so typically, what we'll do is Orlando City has the city bought a parking lot that used to be like season ticket holders, and now they do give it to some of the season ticket holders. Like you can buy a whole season pass, or through the city, it's only $20. Like it's cheap, and I'm so used to like you and I are so used to like baseball, where like parking's nuts. Like parking can be an ordeal in the NBA, NFL, baseball. Like it just depends on where you are too, and what kind of stadium you're in. But usually we'd get there like I don't know. I usually try to get there at least 30 to 45 minutes before kick. And then what I'll typically do is I like to do a lap around the stadium just for fun because I know I'll be sitting, and I just like to kind of see the sights and hear the sounds. I don't know. I just love that smell. I love that feeling that you get before a game, that anticipation, watching the grounds crew work on the pitch, or work on the field. But typically, what I'll do is probably about 20 minutes before the national anthem, or leading up into the national anthem, I'll go to the bathroom. We usually go to the bathroom, and then like I'll go grab food, and I like stock things up like a squirrel, during because I don't want to like leave mid game. And baseball is easy. Like you've got in between innings, and of course that's always a nightmare because the concession stands are long, the lines. But like typically, I'll stash food. Like I usually will buy popcorn to start the game, and then like M&Ms or something like that that won't typically melt as fast, or something like that. And I kind of keep it like under my jacket or whatever I bring. I usually bring a rain jacket because it rains here all the time. But yeah, typically I'll do that. And then at halftime, I'll go to the bathroom, and then back in my seat with probably another snack, and another bottle of water. But yeah, like I always just like, I don't know, I store snacks. I don't like to get up during the middle of the action. Like I never did get that. Like when people take off running in the like eighth inning, I was always really confused as to like, you couldn't wait. Like how can you not wait? Like I don't know.
Now
Like
we
I'm
used
just
to do that. Like we used to do that when we were kids.
yeah.
Like my parents would be like, "It's getting late. Like it's eighth inning. It's 10-0. Like you're
Oh
going
yeah,
home."
yeah. No, we're going home. Yeah.
uh,
But
but
I'm talking
yeah,
like the people that like it's a 3-2 ball game or
oh
like
yeah,
a,
when
a
it's
nil, but it's like back and forth, and all of a sudden people just get up. I'm like, where are you going? Like
see, like
I'm
if
so
I
lost.
have to get up in a baseball game, I'll usually try to do in the top of the inning
Yeah.
if we're the home team, so that way I'm not missing our at bats. Is kind of the way I go about it. But soccer, yeah, I try not to move at all. I mean, it's less than 2 hours, right? It
Yeah.
is less than
Oh,
two
it's so
hours you're
quick.
sitting in your
Yeah.
seat. It is really quick. Um, but yeah, so that was fun. We went to the Oriole game last Saturday. So like we went Saturday, and then Tuesday was the skills challenge. So we only had like 2 days in between of not doing stuff. But um, it was a giveaway night for an Oriole soccer jersey, and it was um, they opened up gates at 2 hours early. So we actually got there 2 hours before first pitch, and then got our giveaways. They had like they had like happy hour beer and like popcorn and stuff.
Mm,
So like we got popcorn, and then we just sat in our seats for like 2 hours before the game starts, watching batting practice and stuff. But that
yeah.
was cool. But yeah, it's always fun hearing how different people do game days and stuff. Um, all right, but let's dive into it here, Logan. The weekend lived up to the hype, I think, especially Friday, as we got Messi's debut and the U.S. women's national team playing around the same time. I had one on my phone, I had one on the TV, and I was just laying in bed watching all the action unfold. And uh, the first half with Messi, I had on the TV. He wasn't playing yet, but the women's game wasn't on yet. So I was like, I'll have that on the TV. And then once it was getting ready to start, I flipped over to the US game and missed the goal from Miami in the first half, right? And then that's happened while I was pulling that up on my phone. So then I went that, and that was my second screen the whole time, was my phone with Miami playing, and then um, watching the U.S. women's team who win against Vietnam. And look, I think we can talk about what was the big major story, right? Messi made his debut. So does Sergio Busquets make his debut. I thought it was actually earlier than I thought they were going to do. Once he didn't make the squad, I thought maybe they'd give him 30 minutes, but he came on with like 40 minutes to go pretty early in the second half. And when him and Busquets came in, the game completely changed. I mean, it was end to end. Cruz Azul was, getting some shots off and stuff. And it was, really good performance by the goalkeeper Calendar, because he was keeping it. He was man of the match, really. Keeping it level. And the way that Leagues Cup works, remember everyone, is that if it's draw, which it was a 1-1, and what happens then is if they don't go to extra time, they go right to penalties, and each team gets a point, and then whoever wins the penalty shootout gets an extra point. And this is how they're kind of navigating when you only have 3 groups in a and only 2 games for each team or whatever. They have to figure out a way to make it a little easier. But anyway, free kick, Messi comes up. I don't think anybody needs me to tell them what happened, because I'm sure everybody knows. But Messi puts it in like the top left corner and wins it with the last kick of the game. It was absolutely amazing, because it had that vibe that I felt like it was going to happen. I was like, wouldn't it be insane if he just scores this right here? And then boom, in. And I couldn't believe it, but I could, like, I saw that ball hit the back of the net and I was like, no way it really did that. No way. And I think I yelled out something like, he did it. And Joy's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Messi, you just won the game for them. She's like, is that good? I was like, yeah, I guess. I mean, like,
Yeah, oh sure, I don't know.
sure, I guess. I mean, I'm not a Miami fan, but they're playing against a Liga Mekis team, so, and just the moment it set up was really perfect. I mean, this Miami team, Logan, is really interesting if they can somehow squeak in the playoffs, or even if they just make noise here in this competition, because even though people were kind of skeptical about Sergio Busquets coming over here due to his age and stuff, I mean, he was making passes nobody else could on that pitch, out of shape and older. He comes in and he makes like a nice, what is it, like one touch pass. I think it sets up Messi for a chance at something, and it doesn't pan out. But like, he just knows where to get into space. He knows where to make that ball to find his teammate and Messi. And when you add Jordi Alba to this team and the potential of Luis Suarez, somehow they're going to have 5 DPs and it's going to be okay. But it's just amazing that is a possibility, and just instantly how much more fun these two have made this team. Like, when I was watching, like, yeah, the first half was fun still. It was back and forth. I was really worried Cruz Azul was going to just blow them out, because there are so many chances that Cruz Azul had that I was like, oh, this is not looking good for Miami. And then somehow Miami takes the lead. And then, they give it up. But then, Messi and Busquets arrive and they win the game. And I mean, it's like you couldn't write a better script than this. It was amazing. So I've talked enough about it, but Logan, I'll let you kind of talk about where you were and what happened with this Messi debut.
I think the biggest points of the night that you missed, Jordan, Kim Kardashian was there with her
Oh
kid.
yeah, and
Apple
LeBron.
TV really, that was so funny to me. I was like, okay, I get it. LeBron would have been the one I'd have shown, and Serena Williams. Like, they are athletes. They are the top of their sports. They're there to see Messi. So it's kind of like the top of the U.S. Like, and Serena lives there. Like, she owns part of the Dolphins. Like, she's always in
Oh really?
Miami. Yeah, but like, But the fact that LeBron and Serena Williams break from their day to fly down to this game, and with the chance that he might not have even played, like there was some speculation that he might not play. Like I don't know, it was just it felt
It
weird.
would have
Like it
been
was like
hysterical
yeah,
with all of his like LeBron's in
could
the
you
house,
imagine?
and Tata's just like,
Right?
no,
Yeah,
not
Tata's
today.
like he's just not fit,
Gotta save
guys.
him for
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a big match for Tata.
it is.
Is
Yeah,
the
he's like
Atlanta game
ah.
and Joseph. Oh man,
Yeah,
I just thought of that because I've been excited for it just to see more Messi, and now I'm like, oh crap, there's a lot more there in that game.
yeah. No, but I think what you said was right. Like, and I was sitting there thinking it, and people are probably like, "Oh, you're lying," but I was like, "He's gonna make this." Like, it just has. It's so close to the box. It's in a perfect spot. I'm like, he's just. It just seems like this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Like, this is exactly what the soccer gods wanted. The script writers couldn't have written it any better. Like the fact that this is just going to be a highlight in the season, a moment in time for I think Inter Miami fans. Like the magnitude of this moment, I think. And people are like, "Well, it's Messi's at the end of the career." I'm like, you don't often, especially in this sport, Jordan. Like, you don't get the best player in the world on your team, and the fact that he's donning the pink flamingo and the brutal heat of the scorching sun of Miami, like in a stadium that was built, I'm pretty sure with matchboxes. Like I think like it just it seems so fitting. And like you said, when Sergio Busquets comes on, when Messi comes on, I don't know if you felt this way, but they made Cruz Azul, which is one of the best historic teams in Mexican soccer, they made them look like they were on skates half the time. Like that whole midfield was like, what the hell do we do with this? Like Busquets was putting balls off the backside of his foot in between defenders, like it was just a pickup game. Like he and Messi. There was one time Messi like got the ball and he does that thing where he just kind of like dribbles around and they can't get to him, so they're just like I don't know. They're like slide tackling, trying to get to him. There's guys going every which way, and then like you said, and he mentioned it too. Messi was like, Joseph Martinez is really good. Like he's got a lot of skill, and I'm really excited about playing with him.
He was playing off of
Yep.
Messi so well
Yes.
this quickly that if he just is on side a little bit more and times
Yep.
his runs just a little better, and that's going to come because he's going to get more used to when Messi's going to make the pass, right? So like, and Messi's going to know when Joseph's going to make the run. So a reason why Joseph's getting caught offside a lot on that is because they're still finding that out. Once they find that out, Joseph's going to get unleashed. Messi's going to get unleashed. Like they're going to pass to each other. They're going to make some good attacks. This is really exciting. I mean, you talked about how you may never see that Joseph again. I think we're about to see that Joseph again. You know, like I think he's healthy again. I think he's under Tata, who is like a great manager for him. And now having Messi and Busquets making balls to him, I mean, that's going to be insane. Uh, Seriously, if they don't do anything this season to get up that table, next season they're going to be they're not the best team in the East, I don't think. They could be though. I mean, they really could. It's going to take a lot of the surrounding pieces to get them there. But look, this is what's so interesting about Major League Soccer. Is you'll have Messi dedicating a game to a homegrown player for Miami that nobody.
Nobody knows.
You don't even think
Yeah.
Messi knows who he is,
Right.
and there
It's
he
that
is, and you're
kid
like,
over there in the jeans. I don't know what's his name. What is it again?
I
I
mean,
just picture that.
it's insane. When you look at the differences between him and Ronaldo at this point, right? Where Ronaldo is, uh,
Making
I think,
excuses.
well, yeah, and I think it also took him a few games to score there, and it
It
was
did.
also
Yeah.
like it wasn't enough to win the league even for them here. It may not be enough to win the league, but shoot, I mean, they're pretty far in the Open Cup at this point, and they also have Leagues Cup. They might win a trophy, uh, Inter Miami. Um, so this is the start of a new era for not just MLS, but for Inter Miami because, like I said, you have a new coach now. No more Phil Neville. You have a coach that has MLS success, that has some players that are going to fit into his system, and you have the world class quality that's going to be able to bring those. I saw some people, some fans that I follow that are not Miami fans, just being like, I think this is a little being oversold on how important this move is. But I think this is the biggest move, of course, in Major League Soccer history. Um, and just having that be the fairy tale ending of that first game is absolutely insane. It makes me really excited for Tuesday. Tuesday is a day that I was thinking I might go to the movies, right? And then I saw, oh wait, no, Tuesday is Miami versus Atlanta. So I'm going to be sitting at home on Tuesday watching that. There's no games today, unfortunately, but
The women's play that day too.
women play Wednesday.
Did they have a Wednesday? I thought it was Tuesday.
From what I looked up,
Maybe
I looked it up the other day,
I think you're right. I
but
was excited for Tuesday then.
at least then I don't have to worry about flipping back and forth. I'll be able
Yep.
to totally focus on the women's game. But yeah, overall, League's Cup has
Yeah.
been a
Oh yeah.
success.
Oh, huge
There's
success.
been so many good games.
Mhm.
US teams, MLS teams, really taking it to Liga Mexi's teams as well. Some other big results that happened were, Vancouver taking Club Leon to penalties. Leon won 16-15 on penalties. But then you have Montreal beating Pumas on penalties after a 2-2 draw. You have Philly beating Club Tijuana 3-1. You have Minnesota, 10-man Minnesota beating Puebla 4-0. I mean, there's been some really good results that way. And then also in MLS teams facing each other, Orlando beat Houston on penalties, so they have 2 points. Austin lost to Mazatlan, which was not a good result for them. They lose that one 3-1. Dallas took Charlotte, drew Charlotte, but then Charlotte beat them on penalties. Having some of their young kids take these penalties and they're burying them, Charlotte was 4-1 on penalties. Some big saves, too, from the keeper there. Charlotte looked pretty fun. Um, New York Red Bulls and New England drew 0-0, but Red Bulls won on penalties. RSL blew out Seattle 3-0. I was watching that game the other night and was just amazed at how well RSL was playing. And I think part of it you have to look at is, Arango, right, is now on RSL, and he is absolutely playing out of his mind. He had a goal in that game. He also had, and then he also had, Rubio Rubin scoring late. He also had Savarino scoring for RSL, but Arango had a really great finish where it looked like there was no shot, and it goes like between the keeper and the near post and just to the roof of the net. Absolutely awesome. So RSL's interesting to me. Portland beat San Jose 2-0. I feel like they play every week. I feel like we've talked about so many Portland San Jose games this year.
That sounds right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that sounds right. I
Uh,
think they played like 12 times already.
Cincinnati 3-3 with Kansas City, and they go to penalties. And one thing that was interesting about this game is SKC had a 2-0 lead 12 minutes into this game. Then they get a Polito red card in the 30th minute. An own goal goes in to give Cincy a chance here in the 34th minute. And then Brandon Vasquez scores in the 56th to make it 2-2. And you're like, holy crap, this is going to be insane. SKC is totally giving up. Gabby Kinda gets a penalty, scores it in the 69th minute. Nice. 3-2 is the score then. And then Luciano Acosta steps up in the 90th plus 8 with a penalty kick to make it 3-3. And then they go to penalty kicks, and Luciano Acosta takes the first one and converts it. And then Sporting misses their last two, and Miazga scores to seal it for Cincy. Huge. Even though this has nothing to do with the league, I think this shows the mental toughness of Cincinnati, Logan, that they were down 2-0. Yeah, a red card happens, but they claw their way back out to make it 2-2. They go down again. They claw themselves back up to score again. Yes, a penalty. And then they go to penalties and completely dominate in the penalty shootout. I mean, how tough is the Cincinnati team? I feel like they're the best team in MLS this season.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose a guy like Brenner and a guy that was a staple last year, And you go, okay, well, there might be some regression, but even like games like this where I mean, clearly, Sporting Kansas City was battling, competing well with them, and possibly a game that Cincinnati loses the last couple of years. But again, you start to see the tide shift on a really good team when they can win matches like this, like matches that they might not be fully into, matches that the other team puts up a good fight and probably deserves a win, but they can't get the 3 points because Cincinnati just. I mean, it is. It's a matter of talent. Barrial looks fantastic. Like the fact that they've used him effectively in the different positions that they've used him in. It's kind of like this Swiss Army knife who does everything. In If it's not for Lucho Acosta, I mean, we're talking about Barrial easily being the MVP of this team. But again, they're just so deep. And when you go and add different pieces, like their new striker, like it just something about this team feels different. And I think defensively they look a lot better than they had in years past. And the attack, I don't think misses anything. So yeah, it's amazing how quickly this thing has turned around. And I think you give a lot of credit. I think to Pat Noonan and Albright, like I think it seems like they've got this thing fixed, and they've pretty much taken that blueprint. And we've seen this in baseball, and we talk about this all the time, Jordan. They've taken that Philadelphia Union blueprint and duplicated a similar situation here in Cincinnati, where they're
And
not
have
getting
ownership that will spend more than the
right.
union too. That
Yes,
we can't
that's
forget
true.
that, because that can take this approach to a whole new level for Albright and Cincinnati.
Yep. But it is. It's like it's it is that sense of success. Like they've built a culture, and I think that's the biggest thing. That Pat Noonan, that Ernst Tanner, that Jim Curtin, that like that group of people, they know how to build a successful and winning team. And you got to have guys that know how to win. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be successful. It's the same thing in LA. Like I think LAFC's created a culture now where they can leave off and get rid of Chicho and like all these players, and it's still fine because Steve Cherundolo now has this winning culture. Bob Bradley had that winning culture there. It's all about that fit, and I think that's what Cincinnati has now.
So I guess a question I have before we continue talking about scores, because you mentioned LAFC, who are on a bye until the round of 32. Um, are is that good having a bye for this long while everybody goes through group stages? I feel like they're gonna be out. They got to be continuing practicing and stuff, but I feel like I don't know what to think of how LAFC and was it no, not it is I'm
Is it?
lost now.
It's
Who
not
was it for Pachuca, right?
Pachuca,
Yes.
yeah,
I almost said Puebla, but they just got destroyed by Minnesota. Um, I really wonder how those two are going to look with this long rest, because it's going to be extra long, right? I mean, because I think the group stage ends on the 31st. So you still have another week before. Yeah, they start on August 2nd. That's right. So August 2nd is when LAFC plays. So they still got a bit until they kick off. And the game started on Friday, and then you had the All-Star break that whole week last week. So they haven't played a game since probably like the 15th of July. That's a
yeah.
long time.
And I think too, I mean, you look at the West. The West is pretty compact at the top now. That RSL's come out of nowhere and have started to chase down LAFC. Seattle's chasing down LAFC. Austin's gotten a little bit back into the mix. Like you look at teams like that,
Minnesota's right outside the playoff spot. It's all
right?
kind of bunched up
Yeah,
in
St.
the
Louis
West.
has been good, kind of in a weird spot. Like they'll win a good stretch of games and then they'll lose a couple, and so yeah, the West is kind of congested. So it makes you think, Jordan, too. It's like we talked about this. Which teams, as they get deeper into the competitions, like do they start to rest players? And I think the answer is no. I think we've gotten some pretty sound lineups from a lot of the teams that we thought maybe could take a little bit of a break. Like Orlando threw out one of their best starting 11s. So it just I think again, it seems like these teams are willing to compete in this competition. Now, the question will be if they draw and they go to penalties and they get that 1 point, like is that when maybe teams go, okay, if we get through, we get through, but let's not play our full 11, give them a little bit of a break. It is interesting though because you got you got the summer transfer window, so you got all this influence of talent coming from Europe who haven't been playing, and we've been playing, and they're kind of incorporating them as kind of like this preseason, like a Messi and a Busquets, and anybody coming from the European side of the game, if they're not in MLS, they're coming from outside. They haven't been playing if they're on that side. So um, yeah, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, this weekend's stretch of games, like man, like it was like one good one after the next, after the next, after the next. And I'll tell you what, it looks like the MLS, and I know we're playing on home soil, so it does help. But I'm telling you, I think MLS can really compete now at this level. Like League of Meckies is a huge league. Like it is globally recognized as a good league. So it's amazing to me that MLS is now up there competing with some of the best teams that this league has to offer. So
Yeah, well, Columbus beat St. Louis 2-1 yesterday, and Nashville beat Colorado 2-1. Atlas beat New York City FC 1-0, and then went full Nazi on Twitter. Did you see this at all? This Okay, so NYCFC equalized, and it was called back due to offside. NYCFC fans were not happy about this. The official Atlas account came out and started quoting Joseph Goebbels from the Nazi regime, uh, and they had to issue an apology. The tweet's still up, by the way, but it was pretty wild. This all happened like this morning, and um, yeah. So whoever was in charge of the Atlas Twitter account is probably fired at this point.
yeah, no longer in charge of the Twitter account. Jeez, yeah, you
uh,
don't throw Nazi around very often. Like I wasn't ready to hear that word on this podcast. I didn't know we were gonna.
you know what? The tweet might be deleted now. Hold on.
They finally got the access to the account. The guy probably hid it from them.
I don't see it anymore. Okay, they may have deleted it then. That may have been an oversight for them, but
That's good. No, yeah, we don't need any.
yeah, they like were
Wow.
quoting Joseph Goebbels, some line he says about lying or something, and they were blaming the media on something. I don't know. It's kind of very confusing, especially because it's translated. You have to click the
Mm-hmm.
translate button and everything. But my God, yeah. So that was that was making the rounds today. So there you go. But yeah, Leagues Cup, a success so far. What do you say? I've really enjoyed watching these games. I think now I've been watching more of the Liga Mekis MLS teams playing each other than I have the all MLS matchups. But like I said, I did watch RSL Seattle. I watched Portland San Jose, um, Columbus St. Louis last night because that started so much later. So I was watching something else originally, and then that started so much later due to a lightning or storm delay that I was ending up able to watch it for yeah, they kicked off at like 10 something or 11 o'clock, I think. So I think it was around 11 they may have kicked off. So I watched that. And yeah, I'm really excited. Okay, so here's the upcoming games. Let's talk about this. So tomorrow, there's no games tonight. Tomorrow is Miami and Atlanta at 7:30. That's the one I'm really excited for, and that is an all MLS matchup. But it's Miami, Tata Martino going up against his old team. Joseph Martinez going up against his old team. But they have a new heavy hitter on their squad, a guy you may have heard of called Lionel Messi, along with Sergio Busquets, are going to be playing. There's this article by Charles Boehm on the MLS site that says Inter Miami forecast a bigger Messi role against Atlanta United. So I don't know, maybe start or maybe he plays longer, comes in at halftime. Like what's the idea there? But the more that the more that he plays, the better chance they have, right? And this is only their second game in the cup. That's all you get, right? It's 2 games. And then they'll have to see what happens between Cruz Azul and Atlanta. But for Miami, they're going to get through their 2 games pretty quickly here, and if they finish with 6 points, they're going to be through. It's the top 2 teams that move on. So that's all you need to know right there, but I'm really excited to see Messi take the field again, and Busquets especially. I really like his passing ability. I don't know, uh, just the whole narrative of Atlanta versus Miami, which before never really had anything. Atlanta's rival was Orlando for no reason except for being a South team, but I think it might blossom into being Miami, right? Because Orlando doesn't put the money in that Atlanta does. Miami will now. You have the former coach, you have a former star player. It's like ripe, I think, to become a big Southern rivalry.
I'd be interested. I was thinking about this too, and I was like, yeah, like Orlando, they're just going to bypass them because like they won't spend enough money. And I think the interesting thing about it is, I'm interested, Jordan, is is it now going to get in like an arms race? You know what I mean? Like if you look north, they might be the next best team to land one of these giants because if you think about it, Arthur Blank's going to write a huge check to if that's
A
going to put
blank check, yeah.
yeah right yeah right so yeah he's going to write an Arthur Blank check but if there's a team in the league that I'm going to pinpoint to make one of those signings, it would be somebody like them because they've got Garth Lagerway, they've got the resources in behind that team.
They're a huge name too
Yeah,
because of what they've produced, like producing Almiron to
right.
Europe and stuff. Like people will go there. Yeah.
Yes, and I think so. I think Atlanta is a big draw. LA is obviously a big draw, but I'm thinking when we think about cities in the United States, for those that are just joining us because Messi's over here now and wondering, all right, what's this league all about, or if people that are just getting into the league and you know American sports, it's New York, it's Atlanta, it's LA, and it's Miami. Like those are huge cities that a lot of people like to go to that are very competitive in getting huge market players. New York City, Jordan, I don't think that's not a mecca here anymore. Like that, they just don't have like NYCFC could be if they wanted to be, but they've just not taken it seriously since they've been here.
Once they have a stadium, I
Yeah.
think they might have a better shot.
Yes. When they play in Brooklyn, yes.
Uh, yeah, they're going to be playing in Queens actually,
Queens,
but
same city, I think.
well, yeah, same city, different
Right.
borough. Yeah, they'll be right next to the
Right.
Met Stadium.
Yeah.
Yankees are in the Bronx, but
They're used to broken sports up there. They can figure it out together.
but yeah, so I think that NYCFC have a shot. Red Bulls, I mean, the just the amount of people that were at this Leagues Cup game was very little. I don't know I don't know, man. The stadium's barely ever full.
It's beautiful too. I don't
It's a
get it.
nice stadium. I've
Yeah, I
been
don't
there
get it.
now. It's really great to watch a game there.
Yeah,
The
and they got a
atmosphere is
passionate
great.
fan base, but they just don't want to come out because it's been so poor. Like I feel like it's just
Yeah,
been so
but you
poor.
also have the people in New York that are never going to
Yeah,
travel
that's true.
there, right? Because it's Jersey. It's like
How dare they?
I have no clue what's going to happen with Red Bulls. At one point, this team's probably going to fold. Unless if they can bring in a Messi type player, a Neymar, an Mbappe, a big name that is going to be able to sell seats. I don't think Red Bulls can survive unless if they sell the team from Red Bulls and they go back to like the Metro Stars and they kind of lose this identity of being a farmer team, which I think also hurts a bit. But when they had Terry Henry and they had Tim Cahill, that place was pretty packed. Nowadays, nobody shows up and it's quite sad. I mean, obviously part of that is that the team's not good, but even when they are good, it's not the same anymore. So I'm not really sure how to fix that. I don't really understand what's going on there. I do think adding NYCFC has hurt because the people that were pro soccer and not wanting to leave New York may have switched allegiances. Of course, you're going to have some people that never switch allegiances, but you're also going to have some that do, right? That are like, it's more convenient to go down to Yankee Stadium or go down to Mets Stadium, City Field. And then, oh, now we're going to get our own place in Queens. Oh, that's cool. Like, it's so much easier, probably so much more convenient with local, public transportation stuff. And because NYCFC sells pretty well. I mean, before you had all of those people going to Harrison, right, to go see the Red Bulls, and now they don't even have a draw really, right? Like I said, there's no Terry Henry anymore. There's none of that. Really worried about the future of the New York Red Bulls. Hopefully they just get sold and become a different team again. Bring back the Metro Stars, stop being a feeder team, because we don't want feeder teams when we finally arrive, right? Like when we reach the level of what we think Messi can take this league to, we don't want these teams just feeding to Red Bull Salzburg or Red Bull Leipzig. We want these teams to be the premier destination, and that's probably a downside with NYCFC as well. They've been selling players, but they also sometimes do spend. So I don't know. You're always going to send some players overseas, right? Because that is the pipeline we have. Overseas will always be more popular due to the Champions League and stuff like that. But when Messi changes this league and we do become that destination league at some point, whether 20, 50 years down the line, it is, they would be like, Logan, this would be like if for some reason the Mets were just constantly selling their players to the Japanese baseball league and had no stars, no bankable stars at all. When you're at the top level, when you are the major league, you do not want to be sending your players, your big names, constantly far away. And unfortunately, that's what always happens with the Red Bulls now. All right, we also have Santos Laguna and Houston at 8:30. That's free, by the way, on Apple TV. It's also on Unimas and FS1. I don't think any of these Miami games are going to be free, by the way. Dallas and Nakasa is on Apple TV at 9:30, not free. Mazatlan and Juarez are free at 9:30. And then LA Galaxy versus Club Leon is on Apple TV. It's also on FS1. It's also free on Apple TV. So that's tomorrow's games. Wednesday, you get Montreal versus DC in an old-fashioned East matchup here. That's at 7:30. New York City FC versus Toronto. That's 7:30. That's also free on Apple TV. Philadelphia versus Querétaro is at 7:30. San Luis and New England Revolution is free on Apple TV at 7:30. Monterrey and RSL is at 9:30. And then Tigres and Portland is at 11 o'clock on Wednesday. It's free on Apple TV. It's also on Unimas and FS1. Thursday, we have Chivas versus Cincinnati at 8 o'clock. Minnesota United versus Chicago, that's free. Nashville and Toluca at 8:30. And at 10 o'clock, Club America and St. Louis on Apple TV for free, and Unimas and FS1. Saturday, July 29th, Cruz Azul versus Atlanta. That is free. And also on Univision. Nakasa versus Charlotte at 7:30 on Apple TV. Santos Laguna and Orlando, 7:30. Austin versus Juarez at 8:30. That's free. Pumas versus DC United at 9 o'clock. That is free on Apple TV, and it's also on Univision. And then LA Galaxy versus Vancouver at 10:30. Then on Sunday, we have Atlas versus Toronto at 7:30. Red Bulls versus San Luis at 7:30. That is free. Tijuana versus Querétaro at 7:30. Monterrey versus Seattle at 9 o'clock. That is free. And on Unimas and FS1. Tigres versus San Jose at 11. And then Monday, July 31st, the group stage wraps up with Club America versus Columbus at 8 o'clock. Puebla versus Chicago at 8:30. Toluca versus Colorado at 9:30. That's free. And Chivas versus SKC at 10 o'clock on Apple TV for free, and Unimas and FS1. A mouthful. Lots of games coming up here, but that'll be the whole group stage. And then August 2nd, we'll start the round of 32. That's you'll have one day off. That is the 1st of August, and then August 2nd, we'll start that. All right, let's kind of move on to the U.S. women's national team here in the World Cup. The World Cup has started. The U.S. women beat Vietnam. Was that 3-0 over Vietnam? I probably thought they would have scored more goals, but they looked pretty sharp in that first half. What are your thoughts, Logan, on this the young forwards, especially, but just this kind of mix of a young and old team here that the U.S. has?
Yeah, and I think that was a big concern, obviously, coming into it. I think a lot of people thought, it's an interesting mix of players. So you have Alex Morgan, right? I think a lot of people will know from the past teams that have played in this competition. But I think ultimately, like, there was concern about if the inexperience could really take down the U.S. women's national team. Like, are we still the heavy favorites to kind of go away with this competition? But I mean, if you look up and down the lineup, still, I mean, it's a stacked lineup. Sophia Smith, first and foremost, woman of the match, an unbelievable performance for the first time stepping in a World Cup tour, like lacing up the boots for the first time in the World Cup. It's got to be an exhilarating feeling. It's got to be an anxious feeling. You've got to be scared at some point, right? I mean, the poor girl. I mean, just I can't imagine all the emotions that she's going through. But to deliver that first goal, and I think that's ultimately what she needed. She needed a quick goal, and I think when she gets that confident, and you can just see it though. Like, you can tell she's used to playing in really strange situations. She's used to playing at the top level. She's a younger player, but I still think like the confidence is astronomical compared to like what some of the younger players are on any side of the game. So again, I thought she looked great. She's probably one of my favorite players to watch. She's just, I don't know, she's got so much energy. She ran the whole time, pressing up front, causing problems in their midfield. Like, it just seems like she's the next one up. Like, you have Alex Morgan, who became her, and Megan Rapinoe. It's the people that you think about when you think about this women's national team. But now you're really starting to kind of get that shift into some of these younger players, and you've got players that are hurt that would normally be in the starting 11. But you've got, I mean, Lindsey Horan looked good. I thought Andy Sullivan looked really good in the midfield. So it's amazing to me. And I know you were really high on Julie Ertz because I think the fact that she is able to bounce back so quickly after a pregnancy, like, I can't imagine
Yeah,
what
they
that's
said
like. Yeah.
344 days
Yes.
from when she'd given birth to being able to play in a World Cup, which is a whole different
Yeah.
level than if you're just playing a normal game. And I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. So, but again, the whole performance, and like you said, though, I expected more goals, so I think there's some room for improvement. I thought they had so many chances that they could have put away. I know Lindsey Horan had a whole stretch of like 4 minutes where she had a couple chances to volley a ball in and just couldn't get behind it. Like, I think it happened 3 times where she had it kind of bounce away from the keeper and could have just smashed it home. And then finally she does. Finally, she's like, to hell with this. I'm going to put it in the back of the net finally. So, they look, Jordan, they look good. Like, they're deep still, and I know the rest of the countries are catching up to us, but like, it's really hard to compete with a Trinity Rodman or a Sophia Smith. To have Julie Ertz to be able to kind of shift around the midfield and also the defensive back line, that's impressive. Alyssa Thompson, who's a young kid. Did you hear her story? She played with men. Like, she played in MLS,
Mm,
the academies with the men's side, and was dominant in the men's side, like led in scoring on the team. And then they moved her to the
wow.
women's side, and she's just absolutely. So she came on late, and she looked. I mean, I think it's going to take a little bit for her to get kind of used to it. But coming on in a World Cup match is not easy. Like, I think we see that even in the men's side too. Like a Wondolowski coming in, like, that's just not
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
Like, you have these late moments. So I'm glad they're getting it. You forget that Rose Lavelle's even on the team, and they put her on. It's like, this team, Megan Rapinoe on late, like, it's unbelievable. Kelly O'Hara didn't even play. Huerta didn't play. Like, it's just like, or no, Kelly did come on late, and so did Huerta because they came on, I think, 84th. But anyway, like, it's just, this
Not a
team's
lot of time.
stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, this team's stacked.
Yeah, this was we did get a penalty called that Alex Morgan missed, but this was a pretty clear penalty. I can't believe it took one that didn't call it, but it looked like the ref didn't have a good view of it. But it was somebody took out Trinity Rodman, and then it took forever with the VAR on this. I'm not even sure why. I was like, I was
The
getting
whole
real,
time.
I was
Yeah.
getting so frustrated. I was getting so frustrated, Logan. Joy would probably be able to tell you that because I'm sitting there, I'm like, boom, penalty, boom, penalty. I'm like, why is it taking so long? Bam, penalty. Like I've seen it 5 times. I saw it the first time I knew it was a penalty. They watched it for like 15 times. It was like 5 to 6 minutes. And what ended up happening is each end of the half would have like 9 minutes of stoppage time due to these decisions. But what I do like, and I don't know if this is something that's going to stay in the men's side too, but when they come out and describe what's going on instead of just using hand signals, they're like, after further review, it's a penalty. I'm like, great. Baseball changed that with the challenge system because they used to just do hand motions too, like, and you're like, I don't know what that means. But, like, when they can describe it the way that football refs are describing it, that is so much more clear, and I really like that. Getting a definitive like decision and them telling us why. Uh, I hope that sticks. I hope that's something that we see in like 2026.
Yeah, I like it. It's transparency in the game too. I hope it comes to all the leagues. Like I just at this point because it clarifies so much, and you're just like I don't know what they're saying. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like come out and explain it. Like so many different offside calls could be like yeah like the forward player had an elbow that was offside like that's what ultimately the determinant factor was and it's so much clarity and then people aren't complaining about the calls because they're like oh yeah because they described it so yeah no I was a huge fan and I thought that the crew did a great job like I thought like the line judge was really good on that I think it was the Alex Morgan call like she was just offside and they caught it I was like wow that was some really good
But they were
line
wrong.
judge.
Yeah, they
That's true.
made it
Yeah.
a goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. So it was like,
And that took
gosh,
forever.
yes. So I don't know. I thought it was well done. I thought, uh, I don't know. I love World Cup so much. So
I
like,
know. It's
it
so much
just,
fun.
it makes me
It
so
sucks
excited.
it's on a really bad time. Like I
Yes.
woke up this morning and there was a 7 o'clock game, so I
Yep.
watched that like a little bit before work and
Yep.
stuff because I'm here and it was good. And at that point though, like I think Brazil won like 3-0, 4-0, but uh USA right now top of the table in their group, which is Group E. It's USA 1 win, 3 points, 3 goal differential while Netherlands is in second with 3 points, 1 goal differential as they beat Portugal 1-0. Portugal's in third with a -1 goal differential and 0 points, and Vietnam in fourth with 0 points and -3 goal differential. Around the rest of the World Cup, Group A, Switzerland and New Zealand currently in the top of that group, each one with 3, while Norway and Philippines have 0 points. Group B, Australia is in first with 3 points. Canada and Nigeria split their points, so they're sitting with one each, and Ireland has 0. Japan and Spain sit top of Group C with 3 points each. Japan beat Zambia 5-0, and Spain beat Costa Rica 3-0. Denmark and England are top of Group D with 3 points each. Both of their teams won 1-0 over China and Haiti. Group F is Brazil on top with 3 points. They scored 4 today. They beat Panama 4-0. France and Jamaica split their points. They each have 1. That game ended 0-0. Group G, Sweden and Italy lead the top of the groups here, 3 points each. South Africa and Argentina with 0 points. And Group H so far, I think, has only had the one game, which is Germany has 3 points and Morocco has 0. Colombia and Korea Republic, I guess, will start this morning or tonight. Let me see what time the next game is. Oh, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. tonight. So we can unwind with some, since there is no Leagues Cup, we can unwind with some Women's World Cup, Colombia, South Korea, 10 o'clock on FS1 and Universio and Peacock because of the Spanish rights. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I love anytime a World Cup or a tournament is on, like the Euros and Copa America and stuff like that. I'm really excited to see how this all continues. All right, so we had a busy week. That was a lot of games to talk about. We don't have to worry about standings in MLS right now because it's on pause. Anything else you want to talk about before we jump out of here?
Hmm, not that I can think of. I think it was just it was a U.S. women's national team high and a Messi high. So it really was just like, I mean, I know we were both texting back and forth on Friday. I mean, it was the most excited I've been since I think the men's World Cup. So, I mean, it's been it's been nonstop in this country, and I think Jordan, just to kind of like wrap up the conversation on of all of it, just how massive this all is for our sport here in the states. Like, U.S. women's national team has always been a juggernaut, and I think people are now so like, I don't know if you guys saw the crowds in Kansas City and DC for the women's national team. Like, there were massive crowds because people love watching it because they're so good, they're so successful, they're well coached. It's, I don't know, they seem so much more tight knit than when we watch the men's team. Like, I don't know what it is about. I think because they've all been together for so long, because they all start so young. A lot of the women's team, it just feels more like a culture, like a fan, like it's a team I love getting behind. So that's always fun. And then, if we win this World Cup, say, with the women's national team, which we have a good chance to do so with the talent that we have, you've got Messi playing in this league, and I think giants are following him. I think Suarez comes. I do think, we get maybe some more European players kind of shifting over from their clubs, hopefully this summer and then the winter. I think you've got, even in the prospects of like 3 or 4 years, you've got a Neymar that I think will be ready to kind of try out the league. Like, I do. I think that there's a lot of things, and think about all the groundwork that Messi, like a player like Messi, lays. Right? The fact that David Beckham gets Messi, those are two huge stars. Obviously, Messi, probably arguably the best player to ever do it. David Beckham, the best English player to ever do it, pretty much. Like, you've got all these stars aligning, and then the attention they'll bring. Like, just having, like, you texted me and said Sergio Aguero was at the match. Like, you know how many players that Sergio has played with, that or like young players that looked up to Sergio, and Lionel and Sergio and all these Barcelona guys. Like, it's only a matter of time before all those players' attention starts to shift to the United States. And I think this is huge. Like, leading up into 2026, I don't think that this could have been any better. The fact that Lionel Messi, the best player to ever lace up boots, the fact that the U.S. women's national team is so good, the fact that the U.S. men's national team has so much promise, like, it just feels like if you were on board before, you got on at the right time, I think, because I think it's going to be a propel upward from here, because it'll be a lot of exciting stuff going on in the United States as far as soccer is concerned.
Yes, and a report came out today that MLS Season Pass is approaching 1 million subscribers, a number that includes the season tickets holders, and MLS expects that number to balloon even further thanks to Messi. Of course, World Soccer Talk has to try to make a big deal out of that, but Apple and MLS keep saying how happy they are to be in bed together, and I guess that's all that really matters. And that number will absolutely balloon thanks to Messi worldwide, for sure. Um, I mean, so many football accounts and soccer accounts were sharing that video from MLS and Apple with that goal, and none of it was. Some people were remarking about the goalkeeping, but it's like, what the hell are you even talking about? That's a tough thing to save. And then also,
Did you see some of the goalkeepers come out though and say, "I wouldn't have gotten to that. Like, to hell with that. Like, I
right,
never would
right.
have touched that." There was, and then I forget who it was, but somebody tweeted. I think it was one of the goalkeepers that goes, "Trust me, I've tried to stop that before, and it's never worked very well for me."
Yeah, I mean, look, and then you had some people think that they like people that were trying to put down MLS is like trying to say like, well, that's the defending in the league. It's like it was against Cruz Azul. I mean, like people have no clue what they're talking about, but whatever. Um, I'm really excited for the future of this. I'm very happy with where we are in the league and the league's cup and all that good stuff. So really looking forward to talking to you next week and or maybe next week or right? You're still good for next week,
Yeah,
or
so good
okay?
for next week.
I
Yep.
was gonna say for next week and kind of catch up on the progress that the League's Cup happens. We'll be almost through the group stage. The last games will be kicking off that night, and then the women will be playing their games too throughout the next few days, I think. So really excited, really good spot. You can follow us at Stateside Show on Twitter, which is now X. I don't know, who knows anymore what's going on with that. Facebook, Threads, Instagram, all of those links are in the show notes below. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.